exhausting her a little bit more today than we were maybe going to give it credit for. So she's kind of just been like resting and is currently in the shower right now. You're well? Good. Well, welcome in. We are just getting started with some UFO 50 bingo recap. We've had a lot of fun stuff happen over the first 2 weeks, and I feel like it's my duty to show it off. Poor Avianos is just sitting at the absolute bottom of the barrel here, even below combatants. That's pretty funny. So let's go ahead and just start getting into games, and we can look at the stats and stuff if we have time later. So for those that have missed it, A tier has 2 games that they play each week, which is effectively turning their season into a full 16-game schedule. Basically, just each week they play a game back-to-back or as close to back-to-back as they can. And they're like completely separate games, so it's not like a best of 3 or anything. It's basically just to double the season to try to make playoffs a little bit more clear for their tier, I think. And to sort of at least lessen the need for like one snipe determining like the entire playoff season and stuff, I guess. So starting off, we did have a pretty nice little Seaside Drive race in the center square. It kind of looked like Ivan was going to stay in for trying to race to the UFO in stage 3, but I think, understandably, thinking that Flesh was a little bit farther along than they were, dipped out to Rakshasa, get an equally quick, if not quicker, Rakshasa goal, and start to threaten the Column 1 bingo. As we've recapped kind of a lot with Season 1 and 2 stuff, and especially in A tier, bingo threats can come up pretty quickly, and if you're not careful, they can come up a lot quicker than they're maybe looking like they are. So this board in particular, worth mentioning by the way, has an overbold gold disc and an overbold cherry disc, which isn't very common to see on a board, because there's not too many games where a gold disc condition is even like a goal, or the same game also having a cherry disc condition, I guess. I know Magic Garden used to have that, but I think it might actually only be overbold now. That has both a gold disc and cherry disc condition. I would maybe need to look into that. Mooncat almost has it, but you only have to get 2 of the 3 eggs. Huh. I'll have to think about that. I didn't really think about that until I was kind of just yapping there. But seeing the value of that, Flesh pops into Overbold to get what ends up being a pretty quick cherry. During that time, Ivan is starting to also get some quick goals, including Mooncat and Grimstone / Roleplayer. Fast forwarding a little bit farther ahead, because there's one race in particular that I really want to highlight, and I don't exactly know where it's at in the match. It might be towards the end. Once again, shoutouts to everyone in the Monday Night Bingo Prep channel that's been helping out with the recaps and stuff for these, because it is definitely pretty helpful to just be able to pop in and see what happened in a game and then watch it at 2x and kind of yap over it for a bit. I don't exactly know where the race okay, I think it's right here. So skipping a whole half hour into the match, and it's 7-5 Ivan. And Ivan is beginning to make some progress on Camouflage for the Camouflage Gold Disc. Camouflage is a very, very consistent and pretty quick run. And honestly, even when there's not the space for Camouflage Gold Disc, it makes sense to kind of rush it sometimes. But that little bit of progress right there will end up actually mattering quite a lot later in the game, so I wanted to make sure that I grabbed that. And after that, Ivan backs out and sees the double synergy with Hotfoot, which Flesh could theoretically get both Hotfoot squares. Well, I guess it would be different games. They are racing the same one for what it's worth, where it's just beat round 4 using Mascot and Yoka. Instead of the top right corner, which is win 2 games in a row without jumping and using 2 different characters. Oh wait, no, sorry. I read that wrong. It's definitely Susan Mascot. It's like, that's not Yoka. No, it's fine. So they are still racing the same square, but they're both racing this top square up here, which could theoretically end up being a pretty important square for either player's bingo lines. Ivan with this line and Flesh with that line. We'll just let this one play out for a sec, because not looking at the board, I don't actually know who wins this one. I looked at the stream and then looked at the board, so now I know who wins. It's not much of a surprise, I guess, if I also have the final board on the thing, but that's okay. For what it's worth, I did prep stuff today, but today was kind of a weird, long day and also tiring, so not exactly sure if we're going to be able to actually get through all of Tier 1, and also it may be, once again, a little bit more of a tier watch along party more than me having like super specific points that I'm jumping to in every single match. But with that line blocked, obviously the priority of the match for both players now becomes either pursuing or blocking that bingo line. Fortunately for both of them, they do end up going into different goals here, so shouldn't really be a snipe on either's part unless Flesh like one-shots the Ghost Planet thing and then is able to pop into Ninpek after Ivan dies very late on or something. But with both Caramel and Ninpek being effectively auto-scrollers, either player would basically need to have a death or 2 to be able to have the other one kind of come in and snipe this. And as you might expect, that doesn't happen. I'm gonna try to keep going. Okay. If you are a bingo caster, this is my polite request to please upload your stuff to YouTube. Because I don't like using Twitch as a VOD player. Because anytime anyone goes live on Twitch, it updates every single tab of Twitch that I have that person went live. And my laptop doesn't like it. Anyway, heading back into this camouflage race, because this camouflage space ends up actually definitely being the highlight of the match here. Ivan does have a pretty significant time advantage here, while we do see Flesh trying to pop into Mortal to get some quick bosses, and also just general progress. It's also a very consistent cherry, but definitely just rushing bosses here based on how quick he quit out. So Flesh is beginning to push the column 5 bingo, while Ivan is attempting to block that with 4 levels. During that time, Flesh is able to basically make back all of that progress that Ivan had on Camouflage. And as we see Ivan pop back in, from here on out, this is an incredibly close Camouflage race. And it's kind of rare to see an A-tier Camouflage race, honestly. I feel like it's kind of one of those games that typically goes so fast that one player kind of finishes it before another one starts a lot of the time. But here you do get to see pretty intricate side-by-side steps here. Ivan misses the quick cycle on level 11, while Flesh just opts to go to level 10, which is, I believe, a little bit longer. That's actually pretty fast though, so maybe not. I'm pretty sure the gold disc route does go to level 11, but you gotta nail the quick cycle on it, otherwise it's not as fast, I guess. But either way, because Flush was able to get through that one really quickly, we are heading into level 12 with one lizard like a half a screen ahead of the other. So heading up, we do have one of the deaths in there, which basically brings it neck and neck. You typically don't want to bring the baby in this level since you have to go all the way down to there for color changing and stuff, which does allow Flesh to bring it back. And then suddenly level 14 is a level that you really can't speed up at all. Also, if you're photosensitive, you might want to look away for the portion of this and just listen to my footage, because, yep, players do like flashing the screen there when they get to level 14. Myself included, I used to do that a lot too, but then I realized that it can be a little intense. But heading into level 15, we do see Flesh take a death and then go all the way around, while Ivan just swoops in immediately to grab it. And basically every single second that Ivan ended up having gave just enough of an advantage there to be able to get that race in time. And it's funny because, like, when you're in that situation, if you're Flesh, obviously you know immediately how harsh of a snipe that actually was. But if you're playing this in your Ivan, you have no clue that Flesh was even in camouflage, much less like how close it was. So you're probably just like chilling and bouncing to the next thing here. And it's always kind of funny, like, being a player in that situation and then hearing after the match that it was not only a race, but like one of the closest races that you could have possibly had on that. They came down to a level 14 or a level 15 quick cycle to be able to win. So with the score tied, or almost tied, 9-10, both players are kind of just trying to clean up the end portion of this board. There is still 2 Mortal 2 squares, but they're not really like super synergistic. There's Role Player, which is what both players are currently racing right now. That has like nothing else on the board at all. And then 2 squares that I think both players are just kind of assuming the other one is in right now, that are faster but a little more intense, I guess. When you reach this point of a pretty tense match, a lot of the times, if you can do a goal that lets you like sit and analyze the board and try to figure out what your next strat is, it's generally better to do that. So you can definitely do that if you're Flesh, just leveling up in divers a couple of times, and then if you're Ivan, same thing, but just using some Valve Brace progress and stuff too. But as you can tell by the board here, this ends up being a pretty close race, but Ivan is able to eventually grab that, and then we get to see another head-to-head in Hyper Contender. One of the cool things about A tier especially is because it's almost entirely about like board optimization and board presence and stuff. You end up seeing a lot of races occur pretty naturally just because players are like, well, this is the fastest thing to do. And honestly, the only time you don't see races is when players know that and they're like, well, that means my opponent's going to be in there, so I'm just going to do something else. The double level mind games are something that are pretty fun to watch and analyze on these recaps and stuff, so. But while Flesh is making progress in Hyper Contender but stuck in here for a little bit, we are going to see Ivan pop into Mortal 2. give the goal an attempt before, I think, realizing that hot foot goal was still on the board and just needs to beat wave 4. Which Ivan is also able to do. And then in this situation, if you're flush, you unfortunately do need every space on the board at this point. Like I said, these Mortal 2 goals aren't like super synergistic, because gold disc without blowing anything up and activate all 3 switches without using portals or double jumps kind of severely limits the route that you can actually take a lot of the time. Like, it's not impossible to get both goals at once, but of the games you can double up on for synergy, and even of like the Mortal 2 goals that you can combine, this ones aren't necessarily like the easiest to pair together. And then for what is this, like the fifth race, sixth race of this board, we do end up seeing obviously this pretty extended head-to-head in Mortal 2. For what it's worth, if this does end up coming down to Flesh needing to grab every space on the board and sniping both these Mortal 2 ones, the only cherry on the board at this point is Flesh's from Overbold. So if he is able to pull these out here and get both goals, then this would actually be a pretty favorable situation for him. But as you can see on the final board, even though Flesh is able to gold disc without blowing anything up, Ivan is able to basically just reset and pivot and then activate all 3 switches without portals or double jumps. Although it is pretty close. It ends up being a pretty tight race. And then, Ivan is able to grab that with 15 minutes or so left in the match and win 13-11 in Game 1. Whoops, I didn't mean to exit out of that because Game 2 was still there. Whoops.
Whenever. Countdown. Right now. All right. Whew. Let's do it. I'm nervous now. You know, I've done this all day. No. Oh yeah, that's rough.
Okay. So I meant to close out of that. Okay, so we are in Game 2 now. So, like I mentioned, both players are gearing up for Game 2 here, while we do skip forward to the board reveal. Flesh is able to pick up a 10-8 bingo win in Game 2 with a bingo in row 2, although it definitely looks like there were some pretty tense races in this one. So right away, Flesh opens up Pilot Quest, which is a generally pretty good idea to do if there's Pilot Quest on the board anywhere, because you definitely don't want to end up in a situation late game where you have where you're far behind on Pilot Quest and just need to hit this and pray instead of just building it up over the course of the game. And then immediately after that, we get to see the Alphazar's Hat center square race, which is get 3 different level 2 upgrades in one run. A little bit of RNG, since you are kind of reliant on the different suits dropping in a correct order, but definitely a pretty quick goal overall. while Flesh unfortunately was slightly punished for opening up Pilot Quest early for the center square. As you can tell, it didn't actually end up mattering in terms of the match this time around. We are seeing Ivan almost immediately try to push their own middle row bingo here, though, while Flesh is trying to get some very nice triple synergy with Valbrace on this board. If you can clear 4-1, get the Red Knight 5 items, and obtain this Vihander, that's 3 spaces marked off on this board. Definitely a very intense season for Valbrace enjoyers, where there's been a lot of boards that have kind of had that like double or triple synergy. So while Flesh is obviously pursuing that, we do see Ivan in Pin Golf to destroy 10 orange obstacles, and presumably try to just go from there and complete the cherry disc, because it's not that much farther along. You may be in a kind of weird position stroke-wise, but I think it's still manageable. But seeing that bingo forming while also trying to threaten a bingo of his own, Flesh plops into Caramel, while Ivan is looking like he's threatening either the column 4 or middle row bingo. I think Flesh was correct to assume the middle row bingo would have been faster there, just because column 4 does contain some pretty fast goals, but also contains one that might take you a while if you get a little unlucky. But shoutouts to A tier for making Caramel score 50k look easy breezy, because I tried this goal this week and it was not. And for what it's worth, I didn't know Flesh actually missed that one up there. I didn't mean to retroactively cast her curse, but I was just about to mention, I guess as a aside from my personal match, I almost had the exact same thing happen in my game, where I died at like almost the exact same spot, and it is a devastating feeling to have to go all the way through, like halfway through level technically 3 of Caramel, unless you're like completely score grinding and stuff and taking like all the pictures of the background elements and stuff. But as you can tell in the state of this board, that middle row bingo is now looking pretty terrifying, so understandably Flesh needs to block it, and not knowing how many cherry discs that Ivan actually has, I think makes the correct decision to go into Caramel. Kind of suck it up that he is going to have to do a harder goal, but one that is less likely to get sniped. If he's like super unlucky here and Ivan immediately hopped into Caramel, then like there's nothing you can really do about that, I guess. But if I'm in Flesh's shoes and see those 2 spaces on the board, especially when Mortal 2 can be one of your cherries and Pin Golf can be the other, I don't necessarily want to race a player that has already marked off a Pin Golf square and is about to mark off another Mortal 2 square here. Hi Nitro, how's it going? I saw what happened in your match earlier today in GG once again. I haven't actually gotten to watch the match yet, but as you can imagine, watching like 35 matches a week sometimes takes time. But now very aggressively pushing the middle row, we do see Ivan actually start to open up Pilot Quest, while Flesh is in attempt number 2 of Caramel. as I was mentioning last round, unfortunately, if you are just trying to like survive and like take a lot of pictures but not like non-stop pictures, most of the time you can get it in Orb Shower. Sometimes you have to go all the way to Ghost Planet, and it's actually like a lot more annoying if you have to. But here we see that Flesh was able to score 50k, block the bingo threat, and unfortunately for Ivan, was not able to reach wave 2 with 20,000 points using the red ship, so is just pivoting to another goal at this point. Okay. So we do see Flesh stick in for the 100k points in Caramel Caramel, and potentially a very important hot foot race here, because the Flesh is able to get this, and Campanella Gold Disc and defeat 8 bosses from games on this card is here, especially after how far Flesh got into Caramel Caramel. That's a pretty scary top row bingo threat forming. But if Ivan's able to get this, beat 8 levels on 3 games on this card, and Cobra Race Gold Disc is like equally terrifying of a fast bingo. Especially since you don't know how much 8 levels progress Ivan has at this point. But has played at Tactics, which is like reasonably a game that you can get 8 levels in pretty quickly. So this hot foot gameplay ends up being pretty important overall, because if you are able to win 3 games in a tournament without using any jump specials, which I'm going to be honest, I cherried kind of multiple times forgetting that jump specials were a thing the entire time. Like, I think of everything you need to know in hot foot, jump specials are like kind of the last thing that you'd pay attention to a lot of the time. So kind of just ends up coming down to a hot foot race using these 2 characters specifically. But unfortunately for Flesh, the AI for Flesh's opponents have just been dodging absolutely everything. And then suddenly we are looking pretty close on kind of scary bingo threats. Flesh doesn't really have anything cooking right this second, but Ivan is looking kind of scarily close to that diagonal bingo, but I think knowing that is also going to just try to push either the column 4 or column 5 bingos. Gets into Star Wasper to reach wave 2 with 20,000 points using the red ship, which if you're comfortable score grinding in Star Wasper is not unreasonable, because all you really need to do is just have a multiplier heading into the boss and then have both your lives, I guess. But we do get to see a head-to-head Star Wasper race, which, given how popular this game is, oh, I see what happened. Okay. So, while it was a head-to-head race, and while Ivan did actually get that goal, one, Ivan marked it too early because it says reach wave 2, which I would presume would at least mean like the green background, if not like actually starting the wave. But because Ivan marked that square and then Flesh quit out, unfortunately had to get called on the technicality that it wasn't reach wave 2, even though Ivan had beaten the wave 1 boss and was very, very close to wave 2. And because Flesh quit out and lost progress on it, that does automatically reward that space, as well as any general progress that could be earned from that space to Flesh here. So fast forwarding to when the board gets back out. In addition to obviously getting that Star Wasper space, Flesh gets the gift, which I think he already had, and I guess a cherry disc technically out of Star Wasper, but that doesn't matter here because that was already marked off. So thankfully for Ivan, it doesn't, like, obviously that space ended up being kind of an important bingo line, but it doesn't impact as much as it possibly could have, I guess. So I may just be a Quibble Race convert now. I think Quibble Race Cherry Disc is kind of a YOLO. I think there's enough that you can do with Quibble Race Gold Disc that even if you mess it up like a couple of times, it theoretically should be okay. Oh, I'm sorry, it also gave Flesh progress for defeat 8 bosses on games on this card. Because basically it was theoretically given to Flesh that he cherried the game at that point, which would have been bosses, which then brought him back within 1, blocked both of Ivan's bingos, and also started to push this Road 2 bingo. But we do get some pretty tense paint chase race here, as both players now see the importance of that bingo line. If you're Ivan and able to block that bingo, you go up 9-7, and even though you had to give up a space on a technicality, you're still looking pretty good here. And then if you're Flesh and able to get that, you know that you have a ton of Pilot Quest progress already and a lot of progress in 8 levels. And that's definitely a pretty good situation to be in. Just going to go ahead and let this paint chase play out. I do wish I could play this at 4x, but Twitch doesn't let me. I can only watch things on Twitch at 2x speed, which means that we get to watch this paint chase race, I guess, at a reasonable pace, because it would probably be going way too fast at 4x, now that I say that out loud. But we do get a little bit of an unfortunate course fail from Flesh there, which does allow Ivan to theoretically come back. But this is kind of looking like a course fail from Ivan as well. Yeah, that's a lot of red. So course 22 giving both players the business here. Understandably just going to go ahead and take the time stop there, get rid of all that red, and just move on. So ends up being a very, very close race. Shout out to this paint chase goal actually forcing you to play the end of paint chase and bingo. Which was not a thing last season, and the end of paint chase is pretty cool, so. But we do see now at this point that Flesh has about a half level lead and is able to grab that. Then we see a 2 levels race, or an 8 levels race, excuse me. Where basically Flesh is just trying to get through the 8 levels of pin golf before presumably popping into Camp 1 with how proficient Flesh is. I haven't actually seen what he clears this out on, but I would assume so. Yeah, okay. So don't necessarily want to race Flesh in a Camp 1 race, since he is a very accomplished speedrunner of this game. And then able to mark that space, and then up 9-8. Flesh has the meat shack online and has 3 meat compared to Ivan's 1 meat. Which is going to allow Flesh to have a lot more time out in this wild area to kind of survey the fields. I don't think he's had any teleporters activated yet, but did have Pilot Quest cooking slightly earlier, which is going to give him a little bit more time to actually explore these dungeons and get some of the power-ups and even take a hit. Whereas Ivan has to grind for time immediately because he only had 1 meat to be able to use. and also has to hope that the guy doesn't kill him right there, which he almost did. That was terrifying. So finally has a little bit of time, but honestly has kind of like just as much time as he started. But does get a couple of pretty nice drops there. We see the cave for the blaster, and Flesh with 3 extra meat and at least 1 Zoldnak on the way to 6. So again, Flesh can pretty much almost immediately dip back out, refresh the timer, and come back out. And can also afford to even take a hit on the way back. And then unfortunately, Ivan runs out of time. And when you run out of time in Pilot Quest, the only thing to do to get more meat is to go do something else. And unfortunately, if you're Ivan, you have to go do something else, knowing full well that your opponent is not doing something else. Ivan's main hope at this point in the match is to hope that Flesh was baiting him into trying to go for that Row 2 bingo, and that Flesh also doesn't have any Pilot Quest progress. But as you can imagine, Flesh does, grabs the bingo, and is able to pick up the 10-8 win. So a very well played back and forth game. A little unfortunate from Ivan to make that miss mark a little early, and in my opinion, honor the spirit of that goal, but unfortunately the letter of the law says that like wave 2 wasn't reached, so I get it. And given that that happened to Flesh in week 1, I also don't blame him for just wanting it to be consistently applied at that point. But very good game from both players. Definitely both played really well, and we need to get moving. Holy shit, we were so far behind. How did 2 games take 30 minutes? Oh no. I need to haul ass here. Okay, so next up is Glove versus Matt game 1. Both players continuing the trend of... why is it? It said it started at 0, and then it started 20 minutes in. Nope. Okay. Twitch. Twitch is a live service platform, is fine. Or like live video platform is fine. Twitch as hosted videos. Get it together, buddy. Shoutouts to Glove, hyping up non-stop. In matches locked in and practicing. So, for those that missed it, at the start of Season 3, there's a new trend going around where players actually have face cams on, and it's led to a couple of pretty great reactions, so whenever players are comfortable with it, I do definitely love seeing it on screen. But for Game 1, we have a 13-9 Glove majority win. Looks like a pretty quick board overall, just quickly looking at it before I pop into the recap. The Mooncat very hard on the way, or in the middle square, does sort of slow things down a little bit, in my opinion. Because Mooncat very hard is still like 10 minutes or so, even when you like know what you're doing. So understandably, neither player rushes that goal, especially since Mooncat doesn't have any other synergy on the board. We do see a board with triple Warp Tank synergy, where you can theoretically use Slim Tank to beat 6 levels and then just beat another 9 levels for Puzzler. But after a pretty quick run through of Bug Hunter Day 4, we see an equally quick attempt at head-to-head in Waldorf. This is a new goal this season, actually. Enter the palace without collecting any puffins. A nice, interesting twist on Waldorf's journey, because obviously a lot of the time you are trying to collect as many puffins as you can. But no puffins means no extra lives, and we do see a pretty clean execution there of both those players' attempts, but Glove was able to grab it first. We do see double pilot quest on this board, so understandable for Glove to pop in and at least get it online. As we've mentioned a couple of times this game, you definitely do want to make sure that you have pilot quest online in the background. Even if you don't touch it for a while, that is still valuable progress. And seeing the value of Warp Tank, we do see Glove hop into it first, which is a little surprising if, you know, Matt's affinity for Warp Tank. But also understandable to pop in for a little bit of Camp 2. Camp 2's got just that space on the board. But I figured out what happened there. It was kind of what I thought had happened. We have a goal this season in Camp 2 where you just need to get 2 power-ups on screen. And I think Matt misread that as the very hard for obtain 6 power-ups in one run. So did the goal for the one where you only need 2 power-ups, even though it was for 6. Thankfully, since Glove wasn't in it, it's just an unmarked the square because you didn't do the goal unpause and not anything more complicated than that. And doubly thankfully for Matt, that does give him the time to pop back into Warp Tank and just barely snipe Glove, as Glove was in the final stretch of grabbing that one slim tank goal. Luckily for Glove, there's another slim tank to grab, and I guess swapping roles here, Matt does pop into Pilot Quest to look at the board, hit the crystal a little bit, and try to figure out where to go next. So getting a little bit further into the game, up 3-2, we did see some attempts at Magic Garden that unfortunately didn't go great. And Matt starting to make some Night Manor progress, since you just need 60% items to be able to mark off that square, and it can be pretty fast. We do see Onion Delivery for Glove to try to show 12 deliveries made on a counter to start to push the column 2 bingo, since the other bingo threats were blocked already. While Matt works to equip the drill and push one of his own bingo lines before popping back in for Pilot Quest to get the meat shack online as fast as possible. We do then get a head-to-head Vanger race. This Vanger square honestly doesn't really have a ton of synergy on the board. Like, it's not advancing either player's bingo line, and it's also not synergizing with another goal. Oh, defeat 8 bosses, never mind. Yeah, it is. Hi.
Oh, that was so cold.
Yeah.
Also, I don't understand ants in the bathroom. I'm so confused by it. I've never seen it in my life.
Yeah, I don't know. I am too.
Anyway, back to bingo.
Yeah. So I rewound it a little bit so we could actually watch the Avenger race here, because it looks like I skipped like halfway into it.
Oops.
That's okay. So Avenger is a quick gift. It's a bunch of bosses on the card, and also if you know where the force mod is, it can be pretty quick to grab that as well. We do see Glove more straight up playing this section, while I believe we see Matt trying to go for the skip here. We do, okay. Okay. So Glove pops back into Pilot Quest here to defeat Unktomi and make a friend at the crash site. Has enough time to be able to do both here as long as he gets back in time, and was able to grab 6 ingots to be able to also make the friend. So good double synergy there. Looks like all of those ingots were gotten in the last like minute of the game time also, so we do see a little bit of a hold on the make a friend at a crash site before eventually marking it off. Unfortunately, even though the score is 7-5, the only bingo threats that are around are the middle row and bottom row bingos, and then the row 2 bingo that neither player has like any progress on. So both players are at this point kind of just trying to grab spaces, it looks like, and if they're able to block the last bingos on the thing. Next one is 53. I love Glove's timed nods to get the bunny. So both players here are beginning to race gold discs because there's a space that helps both players' bingos here. I didn't actually see the Glove also had the middle column bingo, but both players can benefit pretty heavily from gold discs on this card because it's Matt's last bingo at this point. And I guess actually also Glove's last bingo. So either way, both players definitely want this space, and it's a good board for that because there's camouflage. Demolition is like acceptable for it. Bushido Ball's really good for it. Magic Garden's really good for it. Bug Hunter's acceptable, I guess, and then obviously Nightmare. So definitely both players are presumably going to start rushing the gold discs on this board pretty soon. I think Matt trying to get some of the longer goals out of the way on this bingo line. So as the board fills out, we do see that Matt is able to grab the Aviano skull and then quit out while holding it to be able to try to make a little bit of progress in Paint Chase. Unfortunately for Matt, Glove is already in Paint Chase, kind of working on that goal, having seen the bingo line still there. If Glove is able to block this, it'll either go to majority or a Glove bingo at this point. So Matt was not able to beat Glove in the race, but then did mark off the Aviano square. So we are seeing a gold disc race, but unfortunately for Matt, it's more just to make sure that he doesn't get bingoed on more than being able to bingo himself. So we do get to see some kind of rare synergy in actually going for the Paint Chase final boss as one of the bosses on this card, which is fun.
Chase?
Paint Chase?
Oh. I'll
You
chase those
scared
ants.
the shit out of me.
Sorry, I'm sensitive to ants right now. Let's combat ants.
Yep. It's not on this board, you're good.
Got some games confused.
Okay.
I'm on high alert right now.
I guess so.
Buns on high alert. Ears are up.
Ears are up and she's ready to hop away.
Got no energy though. Used all my mana.
Ears are up and I'm ready to flop. A little
Maybe
bit.
you don't like my joke.
I smiled at it, I just heard it in my head. So up 12 to 9. Matt at this point would need every single square on the board left. So Glove just basically at this point needs to pick a square and go into it and get the goal and just hope Matt's also not in that like 4 times in a row. We do see the attempt at onion delivery and bosses, but unfortunately for Matt, Glove was just able to get Demolition pretty much uncontested there and win 13 to 9 in game 1. So, as is the case with a lot of the A-tier matches when they go to game 2, the other player won in game 2, which is pretty good because it just goes to show that everyone in A-tier is so even. Thank you. My hair's long. So starting off in game 2, we see Matt go for a pretty powerful center square, have 35 shells at once in Waldorf, while Glove goes for the Bean Drip 6K, which both of these are incredibly fast goals. Even looking at the card, both were done on their goals in under 3 minutes, which is pretty good. Right away, Matt is immediately pushing the column 1 goal, which does have combat ants, but I'm going to be really quiet about it because Bun's apparently sensitive about ants today. It does look like that square comes up at some point, so I'll just be really quiet during that part, probably. But always a treat to get to watch Matt blast through Felgress. Matt's definitely one of the top Felgress players, like, ever, so it's pretty cool to be able to watch him bust it out in the bingo match. And then to push the kind of L-shaped bingo threat here, Matt hops into Rakshasa to beat the green troll boss with 4+ skulls. Basically just die a couple of times at the start of the game, get the gift, and then beat one mini boss that's like slightly harder, and then you get this goal. And then I guess if you want to stay in for another boss, it's not like that much farther away. I do also see that Quibble Race Cherry Disc is on this board, which I'm excited about. We're only through like 3 games and I'm already having an ad. That's not great pace. So unfortunately for Glove, he does have a little bit of trouble with this Demolition goal, while Matt kind of just hops around for a bit and grabs eventually up to a 5-1 lead. Glove does eventually get that Devilish goal and is able to start to push things a bit more. Glove just making sure that he understands where the pin's at and anything else that he needs to do in Barbuda while he's here. And let's fast forward just a little bit more to 30. Okay, so another onion delivery space on the board. One that is more helpful for Matt's bingo line than anything that Glove is doing, but also an important defensive play here. Being kind of flipped roles this game, since Glove got kind of stuck in the Devilish square for a little bit. Glove's now on the defensive and basically just needs this square as a block, whereas Matt is setting this up for one of his last bingo lines. It's not the last bingo line that Matt has, because he can do the diagonal that ends in the Quiver Race Cherry Disc, but the one that he seems to be pursuing a bit more aggressively here. Also, I realize that I'm getting through these recaps a lot slower because I can't watch them at 4x and I have to watch them at 2x. The pace of the 4x was kind of helping me actually watch stuff faster, yeah. I'm only through midway through the third game here. So if I don't end up doing all of A tier tonight, just know that I've tried though.
I guess, but get through what you can. Maybe get through A1.
There's no separation of A tier, it's all just one big tier.
Oh, I thought there was.
No, there's 2 games each week for A tier, but it's A tier.
I didn't realize it wasn't separated like B
Yeah.
and C.
It's the only one that's not separated by B and C, but I think to make up for it, they have 2 games now, so it's basically like doing... It'd basically be like doing A1 and A2, but...
Games, because it would go by too fast if they didn't, but I didn't realize it didn't have the 1 and 2 separation.
Yeah.
Well,
That's okay, I'll probably just go for like another hour and go through what I can by then.
the separation as if there was a separation.
The main thing is I don't want to just like be streaming non-stop bingo recaps.
I know.
I do need to just kind of bing about at some point, but
If there's a way that I can help you stream it, I have time.
no, little cutie. I mean, that would be very helpful, but
I know.
I would have to help teach you more about like bingo analysis
I
and stuff,
know.
which isn't undoable, but you would have to.
I mean, if you gave me the highlights, like the bullet points, I could try to study the games more.
Be up to you.
Try.
I mean, honestly, even if you were only able to take like the C2 tier recaps, that's one less recap I would have to do, and that would be like people who are just as new to the league as you would be to casting it, basically.
Yeah, let me know if that would help. I could try to help in that way.
That would be helpful. I'll check it out after this.
Yeah, if you could get me the notes or something at least. You know, the basic bullet points that I need to go over.
Yeah. During this recap, by the way, I've been politely talking over the game that you thought I was talking about earlier.
Me?
Yep.
Oh.
So while that's happening, Matt goes for a pretty great, not double, but triple play here, where he currently has 3 gold discs, and is going to be going for the Quibble Race Cherry Disc, and also theoretically the gift. Or the gift? Yeah. So during the middle of that, we also get to see a double mark where Glove was able to mark off that Ants goal and beat 2 levels in 6 games to bring it back within 2. So definitely still looking like a game at this point, and Matt will need to clutch up with the Quibble race win here. But thankfully, Wildcard clutches up, gets the sponsor bonus. One and done of the Quibble Race Cherry Disc. And then once it rolls, once it finishes rolling, able to go boom, boom, boom. And Glove is understandably devastated. Because having just had a triple play or a double play of his own to get back in the game, looks at the board and there's a triple. And once you're down 11-6 in a game, it is a little difficult to come back. It's not impossible, but at this point, if you're Glove, you would definitely need like pretty much every space on the board to be able to go your way here. And while Glove is able to make a little bit of progress, Matt's already working on bosses and also has the double synergy here of being able to defeat a boss in a game on this card from Rock On, and then is just going to be able to beat Crossroads and get a double mark and defeat a boss in 6 games on this card. So definitely a pretty high octane game 2 where there was a lot of stuff paired together. Kind of rare for points to come in bursts like that in any game, much less like multiple times in one game. So cool one to recap. Pretty fast game, as are a lot of A-tier games. Unless you're watching them at 2x, at which point I'd apparently take forever to recap them, and I don't know how. But next up, we have Hugo versus Dupe. Once again, Dupe is a brand new player to the league, and Hugo is moving up from B1, long-time B1 participant, getting the promotion. And in week 2, Hugo was able to pick up a 13-3 bingo win in game 1 with the bottom or the middle row bingo, as well as a couple of other bingo threats that kind of guided Dupe around the board here. So right away, we see Party House versus the center square of Porgy. Both are pretty quick squares, but collecting 4 torpedo upgrades is definitely a very, very fast goal. And having that as your center square is obviously pretty powerful, because then you can kind of start to threaten any bingo line that touches it. So this one, this one, this one, or this one. And obviously being uncontested, Hugo is able to grab that eventually after a couple of power-ups. Unfortunately for Dupe, while Party House is technically on the board with Amy, and he will need at least 1 round of Party House to be able to get through, you do still have to make sure that you win the scenario with that in order for it to actually count. And as you start to get into a more threatening situation in really any scenario, but especially one with dinosaurs, all of your previous trouble mitigation kind of just goes out the door if you have to order a bunch of dinosaurs at the end of the game. And even though the counselors are here... Oh, we did get it. Never mind. Nice. I thought that was a round that ended up just running out of trouble, but it looks like we were able to clutch that up anyway. And are just beginning more Amy progress, which actually ends up being pretty fortuitous for Dupe, because that is the bingo line that Hugo's immediately threatening out of the gate, which I think forces Dupe even more to make sure that he's locked in for Hotfoot. Does eventually see the double synergy though of reaching wave 4. And obviously that'll be a lot of Amy progress, especially since he already has one of Party House and Fistel before that. And obviously, given that this is Hugo's main bingo line right now, the one that obviously makes most sense to go for, I guess perhaps hedging Hugo's bets here, they'd hop into Mini and Max to get one quick goal, while also showing that they probably have progress towards the other goal. But at this point, Hugo's definitely just kind of hopping around the board to get quick spaces. We do see that Dupe is eventually able to grab the Hotfoot double mark there, but unfortunately, even just being down 5-2 has kind of put Dupe in a kind of difficult situation here. So I think just trying to determine some high value spaces here, just hops into Onion Delivery, knows that he can beat day 3, and goes ahead and goes for it. Meanwhile, Hugo goes on a kind of generational run here, if I do say so for myself, where both players will exchange that quick space, and then it becomes a race for who can basically just grab the quick spaces that are left on the board. We get this head-to-head in Velgress, which for anyone who's watched any of these recaps, you definitely know that Velgress can go pretty nasty, but Hugo gets like back-to-back-to-back. Gets back-to-back-to-back star blocks to be able to grab that space. Then goes up 7-3, and then from there just claims, I think, every other space on the board, right? Yeah. So, getting a little bit farther in, I guess, we'll just go ahead and kind of skip around here. At this point in the match, Hugo is threatening the diagonal bingo, the middle row bingo, column 4, and column 5. And when you're in a situation like that, if you're Dupe, you're definitely just trying to get squares that like help, but also squares that you just know that you can do in that time. We do see Hugo stay up 9-3, then eventually 10-3. We see Hugo going for Bushido Ball Cheese instead of gold disking his Chiome, so not going for the very hard, but also doesn't super need to, like the very hard is already being blocked by 2 bingo lines or whatever. And unfortunately for Dupe, when you are stuck in Bushido Ball like this at this point, where like you can't quit out and save your progress or anything, Hugo is kind of just able to run to the end of the match, grab another gift, and grab another force mod for the bingo. So a great game by both. I think Dupe got kind of caught on the defensive with Hugo's kind of aggressive early push for stuff. And then unfortunately with Bushido Ball, like once you're dedicated to going for a gold disc, if it goes poorly, you're kind of just locked into that game. I've definitely been on the other side of that. So a good game by both. Hugo, good job pushing the early pressure and stuff, and Dupe, good job of getting the early double synergy and just trying to get back into the game as you could. Okay, and Hugo versus Dupe game 2 was another bingo for Hugo. This time Hugo was able to get the row 2 bingo after a board that features triple Rakshasa. So this board has Rakshasa beat the first stage, Rakshasa score 30k points, and Rakshasa score 2k points with each of the 3 weapon types in one run. So 3 goals that synergize unbelievably well together, and as you would imagine, we have 2 players that are definitely capable of that and also see that. So getting into the game here, pretty much right away, this is a situation where if either player gets this triple mark, the other is in a very, very precarious situation. They're all 3 across separate bingo lines, I guess, a little unfortunately, but they are very valuable spaces still, and even past the spaces that are on the board, these are ones that are definitely very valuable. Unfortunately, Dupe does fall into the pit, and I think more importantly there, I guess, loses the weapon, and had already used the weapon, so has to play a little bit farther in, and unfortunately for Dupe also has to play with a harder stage layout since they have died a couple of times. And then equally unfortunately, the monkey just drops directly there. And when the monkey drops down when you already have a lot of skulls, especially when you're trying to wait for the bell to recover, it can be pretty tilting for sure. So we get the double mark. And at this point, if you're Dupe, I understand just wanting to try to get one of the goals, but if my opponent marks off beat the first stage of Rakshasa and the other one, I would most likely presume that they are in fact in Rakshasa still trying to get 30k points and having a pretty big advantage over me, I guess. But I guess you could also just be assuming that Rakshasa went poorly after that and want to swoop that goal too. So definitely understandable to stay in. I guess I personally probably would have swapped, but also that's just my personal opinion, so I'm also sometimes a little quick to swap for that, just off of self-analysis. But anyway, this isn't about me. We do see Hugo going to about midway stage 2. Stage 2 is still pretty scary. Like, we see this bell power up somehow still on screen. I didn't realize it could even last that long, but Hugo in now a much better situation because they've managed to grab the recovery as well as the green buddy. And I think seeing that coming, Dupe switches out and then hops into Quibble Race. Quibble Race Cherry is theoretically very fast, and it does synergize with the collect 3 cherry discs in games on this card. That's like right in that line. So definitely understandable to try to swoop on that early. Hugo's just barely able to clutch that out. Pretty tense boss fight there, and is able to go up 3-0. And if you're Hugo in this situation, you can either play through to try to get another couple of bosses with the mini boss in stage 3 and then the final boss, or you can just try to get the gift where you just need to be revived a couple of times and then quit out. And that's what we end up seeing there, as Hugo then begins to push the road to bingo. Have $50 at once as Victor is really fast, especially since Victor is already max power, so you don't like really need to level him up anyway. Obviously if you are able to buy power-ups, you can like make him better recovery and stuff, but already hitting as hard as any character possibly can. And unfortunately for Dupe, Quibble Race Cherry is also a pretty mean goal, but we do get to see a little bit of Bushido Ball vengeance. It was nice to see that Dupe was able to pop into Bushido Ball and get this goal quickly after the last game. But while Dupe is able to grab that square, sort of similar to game 1, the time spent in Bushido Ball has allowed Hugo to kind of start to mount a pretty terrifying bingo threat in row 2. This Campanella 2 space is the one that Matt thought that he was doing in that one game against Glove, where it's just have 2 upgrades instead of have 6. So theoretically you can get this done by the end of Burrow, or by like the middle of Burrows 2 if you get really lucky. But if you end up having to go for like guaranteed one, you normally have to go to like More 1 or Rink 1 or whatever. But we end up getting the Burrows 2 item. We do get Dupe to mark off the center square, and more importantly, I guess, get revenge on Bushido Ball, as he starts to go for a game that he's comfortable with in Hyper Contender to just get some extra spaces on the board. While Hugo pops into Planet Zoldath to hope that they hit the lottery here. Collect the overworld ground map piece is potentially an unbelievably fast goal. It can also be a goal where you end up having to do some weird secret thing that requires like a bunch of trading and stuff. So it can also be a nightmare of a goal. But Planet Zoldath also has a weird tendency to sometimes just give you a very, very free overworld piece. I know a lot of people believe that Zoldath is like 100% a bait game for bingo, where it can sometimes be not super worth it to go into it at all. And like in this situation, for instance, we've seen Hugo kind of walk around this map for about 2 minutes of game time, which ends up being a little bit longer. But I think I forget exactly where it's at, but I remember this overworld map piece being pretty chill once Hugo is able to find it here. Yeah, so a couple of pieces away, or a couple of screens away from where they dropped off the boots, is the overworld map piece just chilling. Hi Karma, how's it going? How was the match? Welcome in. Hi, I'm Sia. It was B1. That's kind of what I figured. I would have been surprised if it was anything else. Hi Winterbit, hi everyone. I'm CEO, I'm also in B1, but we're taking a quick break tonight to try to recap some A-tier action. Y'all came in right in the middle of Dupe versus Hugo Game 2, which is a pretty aggressive bingo line from Hugo here. Hi Zachary, it's going well. I have noticed that I greatly prefer doing these recaps on VODs that have been uploaded to YouTube, because I can only play these back at 2x on Twitch, and also Twitch kind of sucks as a not live video platform. These VODs keep like rewinding and skipping and stuff, and it's just because Twitch isn't very good at it. Yeah, the Hugo versus Dupe, you can play them faster through VLC. Interesting. Would that require downloading them though? Because I unfortunately don't have a ton of hard drive space. You open them as network streams. Interesting. I will have to research that for next time, because almost everything about Twitch's like VOD playing stuff has frustrated me. But while we are here, we do see nice little casual camouflage escaping with babies, while Hugo is more or less going uninterrupted for defeat 8 bosses at this point in the game. Hugo is up 7 bosses to 2 and just needs 1 boss, which could happen theoretically before even reaching the end of Ghost Planet, which is what ends up happening when Hugo beats Toadette, because the mini bosses and Caramel are now actual bosses. And yeah, that was a 24-minute bingo from Hugo. Very aggressive line 2 bingo that ended up working out pretty well. Ironically enough, somehow in this game, the triple play of Rakshasa actually didn't really end up coming into play at all. Outside of, I guess, scaring Dupe out of Rakshasa before he was able to get the 30k. And the rest of that was just really good execution on the rest of that line. Only wants to run 2x speed, that would be really funny. And actually probably like fairly doable in some games. Like when we've been watching like combat ends and stuff at 2 speed, it's definitely been seemingly pretty doable. Also, thank you for the watch streak, Mike. Okay, so it's 8:30. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games left. I think if I actually pace myself right, we can get through this tonight. I've been having a hard time getting through all of a tier in one sitting, so it would be nice if I was able to. But as y'all might imagine, actually recapping all of these games is kind of difficult, especially in A tier, because there's just like kind of non-stop action of stuff that like I want to show off and make sure gets seen. Yeah, I was watching Ants back in one of the VODs from last week or whatever, and even at 4x speed, it kind of just looked like a relatively fast RTS and not anything like unmanageable. Like even Velgris at 2x speed, for instance, looks like kind of a nightmare. But getting into one of my favorite sets of the week, both Moraconda and Uncle Slam had 2 incredibly good games back to back. This was a really, really fun game. Definitely. Oh, whoops. Okay, no, never mind. I thought I switched them in my notes, but we are good. Reminds me of the time I played Deltarune Chapter 1 at 2x speed because of a wine bug, and I just thought it was like that. That's really funny. You're like watching other people playing it, being like, why are they so slow? What's up with their PC? You good? Okay. Okay, I guess we're back. So, getting into this game, we'll go ahead and get started with game 1. This was a 13-7 majority win by Mora. I remember the beginning of this game spawning a bit of a meme in the Discord. The Discord's been so busy that I don't blame y'all if you haven't seen it, but we have Mora going for double bug hunter while Uncle Slam is trying to have 50 shells at once before entering the palace in Waldorf. Basically just meaning that you need to have the cherry requirement without all the bonus stuff at the end. And Mora goes for complete a job and then also collect 7 copies, setting up a pretty direct head-to-head in a tactics, where if you can win a rank 160 match with spawning at least 2 heroes, then you're able to You're able to mark the space, I guess. I don't know where I was going with that. But after a quick attempt, we do see more back out of that. We start to see Uncle Slam pushing the middle row bingo here, I guess, a little bit more directly, while indirectly starting to push a very, very fast diagonal bingo here. This game in particular was really good at having both players going for goals that were really quick, while also going for goals that pushed their own lines while also playing defensively. So here we're starting to see what looks like both players settling into a 4-3 game where, like, yes, Slam's working on this bingo line, but he's also working on this bingo line. And Mora, seeing that Slam could also be working on this bingo line, is going to try to block that. Twitch absolutely hates me right now, which is funny because there's like less and less VODs being played. I'm glad you at least figured it out eventually, Elfie. I thought that was frustrating. So Slam sees that the middle row is no longer an option, and also will need to most likely block the column 1 bingo from happening. Mora does start to push this column 1 bingo, but unfortunately for her, Slam is definitely very, very far along on that. So as this bingo line starts to form, pay attention to Uncle Slam in the corner for the next couple of minutes here. Because at this point in the game, Mora is casually working on a hot foot goal that is not threatening this diagonal bingo in any way, shape, or form. Slam grabs the purple eggs, busts out the shush directly at the camera, holds Ninpak, and gets into Rakshasa early. And for those that don't know, just because you've completed a goal in UFO 50 bingo does not mean you have to mark it off right when you complete it. And in this case, Slam is holding Ninpak and attempting to get Rakshasa where he can then just mark off both spaces at once and instantly end the game. Obviously, the risk of this is at any point Mora could pop into Ninpak and just mark that goal off if she wanted to. Or pop into Rakshasa, block it, and then Slam doesn't have anything to do there. So we do see Slam hold this square for a surprisingly long time, honestly. This goal, as we've seen with a couple of other matches, can go pretty quickly. The Rakshasa minigame is one that is definitely not free, though, so even if you're pretty comfortable in Rakshasa, it can be one that's pretty scary. And I guess thankfully for Slam, wasn't able to actually grab that one, because technically spawned the other boss first. Does eventually mark it off after seeing that Mora hadn't marked a space in a little bit and didn't want to get sniped on it. Setting up a direct head-to-head in Rakshasa. Also, while I want to keep going, I don't even know if this laptop can handle it at this point, because these videos are stuttering a lot for some reason. Oh wait, I can't skip past the reaction. Okay, so the head-to-head here, for those that can't see, is in Rakshasa beat the green troll boss, arriving with 4+ skulls. At this point in the match, Slam is actually ahead on this goal. But unfortunately takes an unfortunate reset on the 4th skull minigame, while Mora is able to just get the 4 skulls and then advance through the beginning portions of the game. Had Slam been able to clear that last minigame and then the boss, obviously that would have been GG then. Just waiting for the bot to load because Twitch is great. Yep. It wasn't doing this like 5 minutes ago. I'm not sure why it's doing it now that there's less VODs to load. Okay, whatever, I'll just... So, Mora is able to mark off that space. Slam quickly chokes something from off screen. And then we're back to a 7-5 game. Where at this point there are still a couple of like faint bingo threats left, but Mora is more aggressively pushing the row 2 bingo, especially if she's able to get Campanella Trilogy, which will also block one of Slam's bingos, and not to mention she also has the 2-point advantage just straight up. Yeah, I might have to call it after the Mora versus Slam games, because for some reason nothing else
Are you
is...
able to close the chat?
The problem is if I close the chat it messes up the size of the window, like over
I
here.
figured. I just wanted to ask.
I forgot I had a song request, but sure. You got it, Elfie. I think you were maybe the first person that's ever redeemed that, I'm not gonna lie. But I think I do actually like the Rabbit and Steel soundtrack from what I've heard, so I don't mind listening to it. We'll listen to this and then we'll just put on the full album, because I don't exactly know how long I'll be going if Twitch keeps this up. I will honor the song request, but I'm not gonna lie, I forgot that was even a point redeemed. Because I think Elfie is legitimately the first person that's ever redeemed it. So, looking back in this, Mora is definitely pushing for Campanella Trilogy. Slam sees this and starts to also push for Campanella Trilogy, but is, unfortunately for him, just a little bit further behind at this point. Was able to bring it back within 1 and has the faster games. But unfortunately for Slam, not only is Mora working on directly Campanella Trilogy, but she's also trying to get the Camp 3 synergy that Slam wasn't able to get earlier in the game. And since she's able to 100% all of Wave 2 and then beat Robopoke without taking a hit, we will see another A-tier triple space mark. Surprisingly, not even the first A-tier triple space mark that we've watched in the past like 20 minutes. But a pretty devastating one in this game, as you see from Slam's face of realizing that he's now in a pretty bad spot here, as he'll need to get another 4 spaces and then an additional 1 to break the tie, just to get back in the game. And then that's also while Mora like doesn't get another space. So doing his best to claw back into this game, kind of just needs to get spaces as they present themselves. But Mora obviously is able to also do that and just go for the longer goals that Slam's likely not in. While the final score does end up being a little bit closer than that. Oh, I do want to rewind for this. Because if y'all don't know, Mora is cracked at Paint Chase, and we'll show that off by casually busting out like maybe the fastest 350 points we've seen in the league, and if not, it's definitely the fastest 350 that we've seen this season so far. And yeah, both players at this point are basically just trying to bait the other into going for Overbold. I think Mora is more just going for spaces that are less likely to get sniped at this point, since she is up by 5 and just needs one to close out the game. And close out the game she does, because not only do we see the paint chase perfect on stage 1, according to my notes, I think we also see it on stage 2, 3, 5, and 6. For those that don't know, if you perfect a stage in paint chase, it instantly ends, so it is actually faster to get perfects as well.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How do you even go that fast?
Well, this is at 2x speed, but...
Oh, right. I forgot.
But
I was like, no, that's not even possible.
But she is busting out some of the most, like, technically impressive paint chase that we've seen in the league, for sure, because... for those that don't know, paint chase is deterministic, so if you do the exact same thing every time, you will be fine. But that requires you to have the exact same inputs every single time, and also, like, kill the enemies on the right tiles, and also make sure that they're going the right way and stuff.
I was just like, no fucking way, how did she do that?
Yeah. But I mean, like...
Did she get a nitro boost?
So there are these little, like, boost pads that make her go faster and
like,
stuff.
I'm extra tired today, so that really blew my mind. I just need you to know. Like, it extra blew my mind. I forgot it was on double speed.
It's okay.
Could you imagine if it was on 4 times speed and I saw that?
She's Newman. She's unstoppable.
Whoa, she's going 100 miles per hour.
So keeping in mind, by the way, that the paint chase score 350 points is the very hard, and typically requires you to play through, like, at least half the game if you're not getting perfects. I'm pretty sure Moore is able to get it by either course 9 or course 10, which is very, very good for this goal. Especially since the paint chase perfects fall apart pretty easily. Like, even if you think you're doing everything right, just like one movement that the game isn't expecting you to do can completely devastate you. And then already on course 9 with almost 300 points, just needs an extra 50 to close it out. And while Slam has done a good job of grabbing a couple of spaces to theoretically put this endgame in a position where he's able to win, Moore is still just busting out all the paint chase perfects and making this pretty insurmountable. So I'll let the rest of this one play out, but as you can see by the final board, Moore was able to get the paint chase very hard in like 7 minutes, which is ridiculous. Most very hards are aimed to be done in closer to like 10 to 15 minutes for reference, and typically even like a 10-minute clear of a very hard is still generally pretty good. So being able to do that quickly, as well as obviously being that efficient with everything, is pretty cool. So GG's to both. This game was very close to being one of the sneakiest bingos of the season with Uncle Slam, until we got a little unfortunate with the skull recovery minigame. And then Moira was able to turn that into her pushing her own bingo threats, got a triple mark, got some of the cleanest paint chase I've seen in the league, and was able to pick up her blue bun away. Thinking about the sub 4 minute pilot quest very hard, yeah, that was equally ridiculous. We won't see that one until next week, but Keeney deserved to flex and pop off for that one, because I don't think anyone will ever get as good of luck and execution as it requires to be able to get that goal that fast again. Because not only do you have to get lucky, you also have to be like really good at Pilot Quest to be able to pull it off. Like, full disclosure, if I got that level of luck in Pilot Quest, I probably would have blown it. But if you know exactly where you're going, take the apparent shortcut in the dungeon, and are able to sneak your way around, it can be pretty good. Okay, so while I would like to finish out A tier tonight, the PC is she's not working very well right now. So I think what we'll do is we'll finish up Mora versus Uncle Slam, and then I will leave Skousen versus Val and Keeney versus Spooty for next time, and we'll just talk about stats for a little bit. But before we wrap up for the night, let's go ahead and watch the 9-9 Uncle Slam bingo win here.
Uncle Slam. I just really needed to say it like that. I'm sorry.
It's okay, I'm sure he'd appreciate it. So, starting off, we have triple Cyber Owl synergy, and during this, we get to see the illustrious barrel juggle. I'll rewind to this for those that missed it while I was talking over
have
it.
to say someone's name a certain way? Like, I have to. Like, I get the neurodivergent urge to say someone's name a certain way, and I cannot go on with my life until I say it.
Sometimes, but not really in the league, interestingly enough.
Okay, well,
So,
that's
during
where we differ, I guess.
during this part, you can see this barrel never touches the ground here. And since that barrel never touches the ground, it kind of exponentially keeps growing in points. Doing that barrel juggle and keeping it alive through half of this stage is incredibly difficult, but does allow you to score 2k points and show it at HQ without ever leaving another level besides this one. So even though Slam does a good job of getting through Moscow pretty quickly and being pretty efficient with points and stuff, Mora is able to mark off that square within like 2 minutes. And then both players continue on to try to defeat 2 bosses and Cyber Owls. Or at least bank the progress. And I think Slam was debating staying in, but then saw that Mora was more likely farther ahead on 2 bosses. And instead just opted to purchase the Pin and Barbuda, which is also pretty fast. Just gotta kill some guys and then pop into that room. Meanwhile, Mora is starting to push the column 4 bingo with Obtain the Breaks and Gulf Area. Pretty fast goal if you're able to get into that area and out cleanly. But not wanting to be bingoed, Slam pops in and grabs the Tactics Skull, which again shows up here. It is kind of funny to me when boards will have the exact same space show up back to back. But unfortunately fails out of that, and then starts to block with, in my opinion, a much easier space. Also heck that pig in particular in Waldorf. Like she tried to boop it from underneath, that didn't work, so then she just landed on it and launched away. So once Slam gets the coin in the Seaside Drive minigame, which is obviously another quick gift, but more importantly is just much more consistent than a Tactics, or at least not a Tactics goal, I guess I should say. At this point, pretty much every bingo is being threatened as soon as it's being shown. There is a bit of a potential extended bingo line being formed in column 2, but for the most part, at this point in the game, both players are kind of just trying to grab spaces and board presence and stuff. And yeah, Twitch does not like this recap. So while Mora is defeating the final 2 levels of Rail Heist, Slam is beginning to push the column 5 bingo. This is a pretty difficult bingo line, in my opinion. The pin golf goal is obviously pretty fast, as can be Party House, but Ants Ants is 2 levels that are pretty fast, but do require pretty specific strategy. Revolutionary is our newest general goal that has synergy on the board, but isn't always like the easiest to blend into other stuff. And then Kit Club scoring 150k or gold disking is one that even in A tier is not always a very consistent thing to go for. We do get a head-to-head in Party House, as both players are trying to have one star guest at once in money management. I believe this is the easy goal in Party House, where you don't even have to win, you just have to have one of each star guest. Yeah. So as long as we see a dragon and a leprechaun show up on screen for either player, they're able to mark this goal. Obviously a pretty big goal for both, as Mora would be able to push the middle row bingo, and then Slam would be able to push that column 5 bingo. I really want to show off how close this race is, Twitch, so just
Are you able to close
show
any of
up.
the other tabs?
I guess so. I'm not watching these tonight. What a surprise, Twitch still doesn't work. It's okay. I just don't understand how this platform is so bad at video.
That's one job. Video.
Like, it has the live video stuff perfectly fine, but it can't get it together for anything that's just hosted on the site otherwise. So at this point in the game, both players are kind of just yanking Party House units to try to hope that they find a dragon and a leprechaun. Twitch cannot get it together.
Get it together, Twitch!
Will it help if I just return you to 1x speed? Or are you just mad that you're going fast?
I might need a refresh.
Shoutouts to Elfie for recommending the One Rabbit and Steel song, so I just put on the entire soundtrack. Refreshed and it immediately loaded again, so it might just be that Twitch sucks with video hosting.
Well, yeah. It also could just be that I suck with advice.
I don't think you suck with advice. I think the site is just really bad at
It's more
hosting.
like that.
Friendly plea for bingo casters to upload their VODs to YouTube, please, because this is painful. Okay. Nope. You're still just gonna keep buffering.
Every day I'm buffering. Every day I'm buffering.
Exactly. Also, hey, Clary, how's it going? Okay, well, I was trying to show that off as it happened naturally, but we are at the point now where both players are pretty much tied on days. Both players have the units that they need, and are desperately just trying to pull both the leprechaun and the dragon. We see the leprechaun and... Hold on. We saw both the leprechaun and on screen for both players at the same time, but unfortunately for Mora, Slam was able to mark it off first. About as close as that Party House race could have possibly been. So a good race by both players. Both definitely did well. Unfortunately for Mora, this now puts Slam in a position where he's able to definitely threaten.
Sorry.
I can tell you just had a dab.
Why? Because I'm hilarious?
Yes.
Good answer.
Good answer, good answer.
If there was any other answer, you'd be wrong.
So Mora is gonna try to, what is this, overbold gold disc? Yeah. Mora's gonna try to push her own column 1 bingo here. Slam's gonna try to block the column 2 bingo. I'm gonna try to skip ahead and just hope that Twitch can get its shit together for like 5 seconds. This is kind of starting to piss me off, I'm not gonna lie. We do...
Sorry the refresh didn't help. I really thought it would.
I thought it would too. I don't really know what's going on with this site, because it wasn't even doing this when I had like 10 pages open, but now it's doing it when I have only 1 open.
Right? I had you close so many tabs. I had you refresh. Literally, all I did was make it worse. I don't
Yep.
really understand how that's
Mostly just
possible.
iterating to stream. This loading icon is not my laptop freaking out, surprisingly.
Yeah,
This
no.
is just Twitch being dumb.
Twitching.
So, as if I wasn't already going to call it after this, I'm definitely calling it after this, because I don't think I can even do the rest of the recap, even if I wanted to. So, Mora is able to get the double benefit here of Hyper Contender, theoretically trying to beat Tournament Mode with Past Rule. I guess it doesn't really have double synergy since Gold Disc as a character requires you to actually get the Gold Disc and not just like beat the tournament. But tied 6-6, Mora still is working on the Hyper Contender stuff. As Slam is starting to push the column 5 a little more aggressively. At this point in the game, it definitely feels like all of the bingos are blocked, even though there's still a couple left. Mora opting to not push the far column bingo of her own, and just playing for spaces that are quick does end up kind of coming to bite here. But we do see Ants at 2x looking like a casual, just regular game. So, the last thing in this I want to show off before Twitch apparently decides I'm done for the night. Slam is able to uncontested get the Ants space, but hold it because A tier is really good at holds. Both players in this game have, at least up until this point, shown that they're marking off spaces pretty quick. But we did see from last game of this set that Slam is no stranger to holding space if it means he can get a little bit farther ahead on a bingo.
No, all I can imagine is him doing a little
That was this game.
It was?
Yep. Well, it was game 1, but it was this set against Mora, yeah.
Oh, of course it was.
So working on Revolutionary, trying to beat some levels in Mortal 1. Given that he already has the fast levels in Cyber Owls and just needs a couple more, this definitely makes sense. Meanwhile, Mora is starting to rack up advantage elsewhere on the board, is now up 8-6, and once she's able to get this onion delivery space, would be pushing a bingo threat of her own here. And meanwhile, Slam is finishing up Revolutionary. Still holding Ants, by the way, which ends up actually being pretty helpful here. Because as we see on Mora's side, she's now with those 3 spaces is starting to block Slam's last bingo threat right here. And is able to get through Surprise. And is able to start work on Commando while Slam is working on Revolutionary. And at this point, if you're Slam, you're kind of just hoping that you can kind of hold spaces enough that you can basically be ahead 1 goal this entire time. But as a viewer in this situation, Mora definitely was very close to being able to clutch that up. And then, unfortunately for Mora, makes the double decision to try to catch up on Revolutionary at this point, even though she is definitely much farther behind on that one. So even though Mora is up 9-7, this is looking like a pretty precarious spot for because Slam is officially done with Revolutionary, holding it for a little bit, and starting to get a little bit farther ahead into Kick Club. At this point in the match, it would take Mora another 3 levels of Rock On and or Cyber Owls and or Mortal 1 to be able to block with Revolutionary. So even if Slam doesn't hold for like the entire world or whatever here, should still have a pretty significant advantage. This goal was modified this season to not just be a Kick Club Gold Disc, but also allow you to just score 150k. So A lot of the times this ends up being a Kit Club 150k race. Depending on how comfortable you are with the game, I guess you can just hurry up and try to rush with a gold disc as well. But Slam using the hold time to get about halfway through World 1 before marking off Revolutionary and turning this into a true Kit Club race. Both players play this Kit Club incredibly well, and while Slam is able to pretty efficiently get through, Mora is playing slightly more aggressively for points and time here, it feels like. At least just kind of as a neutral viewer at this point in the match. And while it is pretty clear that Slam has like a couple levels of advantage and about 10,000 points or so, that little bouncing animation and a lot of the like smaller stuff of this run definitely starts to add up a bit as the run goes on. So while Slam is like a full 7 levels or so ahead here, the point difference isn't as high as that, so still a pretty close race back and forth. You can tell Val is flipping out at 2x. Look at him go. That was one fast moving combat in the corner. So later in the match, halfway into track world for both players, both players are basically maintaining that same point gap, and I think at that point in the match right here, it was looking like it theoretically could have been going in any direction, as Mora is finishing up the World 3 boss while Slam is finishing up a very important 4-1 for points. I'll just let it play out from here, I guess, if Twitch is going to be weird about it. So, 1 level ahead, but Slam has jumped ahead about 5,000 points or so from here. And 1 level ahead, Slam's only ahead by 3,000 points here. But unfortunately for Mora, there's not like a ton you can do in that stage to speed it up. Here Slam's up to 146k as opposed to 140k. Slam just needs the final burger. Marks off 150k. Celebrates a bunch. Very, very close race. And very good game by both players. That was really close to being another blackout potentially. But Slam was able to use holds really, really effectively in that game to not only hide the column 5 bingo, but bait Mora into going for every square that he had already completed, just long enough for him to be able to execute that bingo without her coming back and blocking any of it. And I guess as a reminder for those that don't know at home, people don't know what the other person's doing in bingo. So, like, while Mora could tell that this bingo threat was being formed, she had no clue that Slam had already completed a goal that she was in. She had no clue that he was already working on the next one. And all of the head-to-heads at the end were just kind of natural, like, player intuition of, like, I need to block this and I need to block it now. And Slam's, like, counter-intuition, I guess, of I know she's going to be in this space for like 4 minutes to be able to get this goal, so if I hold it for 3.5, then I can theoretically make her waste up to 3.5 minutes on this space that's already been done. And definitely was able to use that to his advantage to claw just enough of a lead in Kit Club to hold off Mora, who admittedly played Kit Club very, very well to get back into that, but Slam also played very, very well to stay on top there. Okay, so typically I would finish off the rest of Tier 1 since we only have another 4 games left to go, but Twitch is just being miserable right now. Yeah, sorry, we would finish off A tier because we only have both Val versus Skousen games and both Spooty versus Keeney games, but Twitch playback right now is kind of annoying me, I'm not gonna lie. So, instead of being annoyed while doing this recap, I think it's better for everyone if I just go ahead and admit that Twitch is being weird tonight. Call it for now, and then probably pop back on, probably on Thursday, for the rest of A tier recap, and then also doing B tier, and just kind of doing those games on top of each other. I think that should be fine, because we have to help a friend playtest tomorrow night, and then I have a cast on Friday, and then we're seeing our friend on Saturday, and then I have my game against Liz on Sunday, hopefully. Okay, that sounds good. So, sorry to end this recap in the middle of A tier, because I do like to break it up by tier evenly, but I think it makes more sense to just go ahead and wrap it up here, since Twitch isn't really letting me watch the VODs back anyway. And while I can skip around and watch videos and stuff, it's more fun if y'all are able to actually watch along too. So I guess before I raid, just another look at the season-long stats. For those that don't know, these are all the stats of every goal that has been completed according to the VOD being linked on UFO50.bingo. So as I scroll through the datasheet here, most of week 1 is up, and like probably half of week 2 is up. So if you're a player and see that a goal should have been marked for you that's not been marked yet, that's most likely why, because it'll need the actual like video link to be able to throw it up over here. But of everything locked, or of everything linked, general goals are still far and away like miles ahead of everything else. The most important thing that you need to learn. They are streets ahead. There are 107 general goals completed this season compared to 18 for Bug Hunter, which is also proven to be pretty important this season. Rounding out the top 10, we have Hyper Contender, Barbuda, Mortal 2, Cyber Owls, Paint Chase, Valbrace, Global Race, Bushido Ball. Some of this is out of order, it looks like, because Camouflage and stuff should be much higher than that. Yeah. So top 10, Bug Hunter, Hyper Contender, Barbuda, Mortal 2, Cyber Owls, Paint Chase, Camouflage, Valbrace, Global Race, Hotfoot, Bushido Ball, Magic Garden, and Mooncat. So definitely makes sense that these are in the top. They're all pretty fast games. They all have fairly fast gifts and or golds and or other synergy for general goals and stuff. So it definitely makes sense to get these goals while you're also doing other stuff. And yeah. We will go ahead and analyze the rest of week 2 later in the week. Like I mentioned, it's most likely going to be Thursday, because I got stuff I'm doing most of the rest of the nights. There's a chance on Friday after my cast that we just go straight into the C tier recap if we have stuff done by then. Because I do want to make sure that we're staying on top of this stuff and not falling too far behind. But that also does depend on if the VODs are up on something that's not Twitch, because this is my first night